What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Bass Lane Podcast. It's been a minute since we've been back behind the camera, but it feels good to be back. Been crazy busy with fishing, and it seems like my whole family's been sick, so that's another reason we haven't had any podcasts here recently. But it feels good to be back. Thank you all for tuning in for tonight's podcast. I hope to keep it more consistent as we go forward. But tonight we've got a super awesome guest. This guy's a hammer. He's got a little bit of a unique job. You don't know many people that have the job that this guy has. From Alabama, please welcome Sam Hanggi. I hope I said your last name right. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it, but I'm
You're
not.
you're you're very, very close, Sam
Oh,
Hanggi. But
Hanggi. Okay,
it's a
okay,
weird one, so I don't
Hanggi.
blame you. There's very few people that say it right.
Okay, well,
But no,
hey,
dude, I
I'm just
appreciate you having me for sure.
absolutely, dude. Thanks for coming on. It's long overdue. Long overdue. I'm just glad I got close. I'm sure it's been butchered
Oh,
pretty
dude,
bad.
you should hear it at the weigh-ins, dude.
Oh yeah.
Every weigh-in, it's a different last name.
Yep.
It's honestly
Yep.
hilarious.
Yeah. You need like a little, like the little where it breaks your name up in like
Yeah, I need to keep
silver.
it on my jersey right
Oh
under
yeah.
it.
Yeah. You need to just run it down before every derb. Uh
You ain't kidding.
so man, what's been going on? Lots of fished a couple opens so far. Been seem pretty busy.
Yeah, dude, lots of travel. I mean, let's see. I've done pretty much. I just got done with like a basically a tournament bender. I went to beginning of January, went to Okeechobee, was there for like 10 straight days. Then after that, went straight to Eufaula, did Fish the Nation there. And then after that, I went literally weighed in at that tournament, drove straight to a Ouachita, and then was there for another 8 days.
Yep.
Then got back and I've got a couple days off and then headed to Santee Cooper. So it's been a lot of travel, that plus doing a lot of riding too. So
Yeah.
I've been burning the candle for sure.
Yeah, man, no doubt. Do you like kind of the when it's all at once, or do you like kind of the slow paced, or kind of giving yourself a break? I kind of like when it's all at once. I kind of like the stress. I don't know why. I kind of like it when it's kind of a blur.
Yeah, that was honestly that's my first time ripping like 3 back-to-back tournaments like that, especially with 5 days of practice. I've
Yeah,
done like back-to-back tournaments, but never with that much practice time. And I was a little worried going into it just that like I would get tired out or something, but
yeah,
honestly, I loved it. It was a
really,
lot of fun. I'm also traveling with a good group of guys. I'm traveling with Jack York, who's a guy down on Lake Fork, and
okay,
then Connor Jacobs, who's a good buddy of mine who just graduated from Auburn with me. So it's been a good time, dude. That and pretty much fished all new fisheries outside of Eufaula. So
yeah,
it's
heck
been a
yeah,
blast.
dude. So
I
so
got no complaints, honestly.
how many days of practice do you get for the opens?
Well, it's 4 full days, and then the final day you have to be off by noon. So
Gotcha.
you get a lot, like
Yeah,
more
yeah, that's a
more more practice than I'm used to having, honestly.
yeah, yeah, that's a lot of practice. So does uh does everybody usually practice the 4 days, or like I mean, do you see most of the guys out there practicing all the days?
Definitely like the first day, at least I missed the first day at Ouachita because I was fishing the last day of the Eufaula Nation.
Gotcha.
But definitely at Okeechobee, there wasn't as many people on the first day. But I'd say at least half the field is down
Wow.
there practicing on the first day, and the entire field's there after that. Like they're down there
Yeah.
putting in the work for sure.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah.
those
Guys
those
trying to
boys catch yeah, those boys catch them. So they definitely are down there figuring them out.
heck yeah, dude. Heck yeah. What do you think of lakes you haven't been to? Like you never been to Okeechobee before this time?
Yeah, never been to Okeechobee, never been to a Ouachita. Honestly, Okeechobee was way different than like I thought it was going to be going into it. I knew it'd fish close, like fish like real tight, as far as
Yeah.
just like every other Florida lake. But
Right.
just from like the other videos that I'd watched from like previous tournaments, I didn't realize how much it had changed and like how small it would fish. Because even like last year, watching like the elite event where like Steve Kennedy caught him on the frog and Tyler Yvette won it
Yeah.
up the river, like there seemed to be a lot more vegetation and like still it was still fishing close in that tournament, but I felt like there were a lot more areas that really played as far as
Gotcha.
people catching fish.
Yeah.
And I guess it was just this year with like the high water and all the spraying and all the stuff they're doing down there that it seemed like there was basically 2 spots that played in that tournament.
Wow.
So it was a little different, but still really cool. Like I learned a ton, and
Yeah,
it was still a really fun fishery for
yeah,
sure. But
yeah.
way different than I thought it would be going into it.
Do you think it kinda helps, like, not being to a place before, or do you like having some experience on a body of water?
Honestly, honestly, I decided to pre-fish it, and I guess it was early December. And pretty much every tournament I've ever pre-fished for, it has not gone well for me.
Oh,
So I was
like pre-practice?
yeah, like pre-practice, like I just went down for like 2 or 3 days, like a
Yeah,
couple months before. And honestly, it was fishing so different then that like I feel like having previous experience on those lakes, I'm just bad about getting like preconceived notions. If
yeah,
I go somewhere and fish and like catch them during pre-practice,
right,
I'll get stuff in my head that like this is what I want to do going into it, and like I'll practice like based off that like notion. So
yeah,
honestly, I would say like for me personally, just going in with no experience at all, maybe just like doing some research online is usually like my recipe for doing well.
yeah, yeah, for sure, I'm kinda the same way, like or even just talking to people, like, if you know somebody that lives by a lake or, you've got buddies practicing with you and, they're just kinda spitting out information and you're like, "I don't even wanna talk about it, just let me kinda go
Oh
do
yeah,
my thing," it's like you kinda get those thoughts in your head of what you think's gonna happen, and then you get down there and you were just completely off and you wasted a bunch of time because you weren't going off, like, how what your the conditions and stuff. It's, I kinda like going into something with a clean slate, no experience or anything like that, but Okeechobee's definitely a cool place. We went down there last year, but I remember watching the other day I was watching Scott Martin's video, and,
yeah.
it seems like, there was, like, 15 guys in one little pocket. I mean, just
Oh
crammed
yeah,
in there
dude.
with
There
each
there was
other.
way more than 15, dude. There was
Was
like
it?
1,600 in there.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I've
Yeah,
never
dude.
seen anything like it.
The crazy part to me, though, is, like, they were all catching them. It wasn't
Oh
just
yeah,
like
everybody.
yeah, it's like there's just one giant school swimming around in, a 3 or 400-yard stretch, which is just crazy.
And dude, it came straight off. It came straight off from a Toyota series too, where there was dudes sitting there jacking them for a week
Yeah,
straight before that. Like
yeah.
they were reloading every day on that hole.
What
It blew my mind how many fish were in that
yeah.
area.
Were they on bed when y'all were down there?
Yeah, they were the apparently the deal that I wasn't necessarily as keyed into as well as some of the as well as some of the other guys that were on those holes that were catching them is what had kind of happened on that lake is they'd sprayed and the water had come up and it killed a lot of like of the big reed fields that were
Gotcha.
previously like inaccessible on that lake, and a lot of the fish were like spawning on the dead reed clumps that were submerged. And I know like Scott Martin was talking about it, that like he was scoping them off bed using like perspective and forward facing. So he'd
Yeah,
sit there, he'd see one on scope and sit down there and pull down and make a bunch of flips at it and catch them. So like they were
yeah,
spawning in that area, but there was also like post spawners, pre spawners, just like
all over the board.
yeah, fish in all stages really pulling up in that area.
I
But
gotcha.
they were definitely moving to that hole to spawn.
Yeah,
So it was cool, dude. I'd never done any sort of like bed fishing on scope.
yeah.
That was a crazy thing for me to even hear. So
K did you do it some while you were there?
day two, day two, after I completely sucked it up on day one, I mean I could see all the guys. I mean everyone is literally 10 feet from each other, so
Yeah.
you can see all these dudes just sitting there looking straight down with a little wacky rigs. So like day two, every single one I caught was on scope in like 3 feet of
Wow.
water.
That's
You'd see just like
crazy.
a you'd see a little clump, and you just see a fish swimming around it, and you sit there and throw at him until he nose down on it, catch him, and then
Yeah.
just go to the next clump, throw at
So,
him until you see him nose down.
on perspective.
I was doing it on forward facing.
Okay.
I've never run it on perspective, but that's just kind of what I heard from some of the guys that
Yeah.
really passed them in that tournament is
Yeah.
that like they could see multiple beds running on perspective and just had a better layout of what they were looking at.
That's
So
crazy. That's crazy to me.
it
I think
was awesome, dude.
yeah, now that you say that, in Scott's video, he had one of his on perspective mode, and I think that's what he was doing.
Oh,
Uh,
dude, for sure. That's what he was doing in the tournament. I mean, that's what he said he
yeah,
was doing in the tournament. Like
yeah,
definitely something I'm going to take into Santee Cooper as far as like bed fishing. I didn't
yeah.
know much about the hole. live scope bed fishing deal, but
Yeah,
it's
it's
pretty
crazy.
cool, especially like seeing it in real time. I mean, I watched that dude catch back to back 9 pounders
Yeah, that
sitting there. I was like, oh my lord.
that's yeah, that's just dude, that's nuts. But like,
No, it's crazy.
yeah, yeah. What about Washington? What do you think about it there?
Dude, a Ouachita was cool. That's honestly another lake that like I really haven't experienced as far as like a lake that lays out like that. Like I've done a lot of Highland Reservoir fisheries, like Smith and Cherokee, stuff like that.
Yeah,
But I've never really seen ones that like have big largemouth that just float out in the middle
yeah,
like they did there. Like there's a ton of grass, a ton of timber. I'm also not seeing used to seeing a bunch of submerged grass on Highland reservoirs.
yeah. It's
But
definitely different.
yeah, it was super unique, but it was cool, dude. Like there was a ton of fish in there. The water was super clear. Like it was a fun place to fish, especially if you like to use your electronics.
Heck
Like
yeah,
it was a blast.
full of
I mean,
giants
shoot,
too.
dude, people caught, yeah, there's 2 fish over 10 pounds caught, like, on a Highland reservoir. That's that's
It's
insane,
small.
and there's another dude,
Yeah.
like, a month before that caught an 11 on a jerkbait out there, so, like, that place grows them.
Oh
It
yeah,
was wild.
yeah, no doubt. And that's in is it Arizona?
No, Arkansas, Arkansas.
Arkansas. Why did my dad must have lied to me? He said it was in Arizona, but I never looked
Yeah,
it up.
that's
Okay,
another reason I was so surprised that they had 10 pounders, like,
yeah,
you don't think Arkansas and think
no, you think
10 plus class fish.
yeah, I think of never wanting to go back to Norfolk when I think of Arkansas.
Yeah, dude, I think of Darnell and Norfolk.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
my lord.
not fun places.
No,
Um,
dude, that is
yeah,
hands down the most fun fishery I've ever been to in the state of
really.
Arkansas. In
Wow.
the state of Arkansas,
Okay, okay.
definitely definitely the most fun that I've experienced.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. So how'd you finish up at Wachita?
I finished 80 some I finished 80 something, I think, somewhere in the 80s.
Okay.
I had 12 on day 1, the 12 pounds on the dot, and my co-angler actually won the tournament that I
Did he
had on day
really?
1. Yeah, dude, he caught a 4 pounder I was fishing the middle of the lake all day, like, dude stood no chance of catching one just because we were in, like, 100 feet and, like, he didn't have
Y
scope, like,
yeah.
there was no way. At the end of the day, I went to one brush pile that was up shallow that I'd seen like a ton of fish on, and I was throwing like a jerk bait and a little Demiki rig over it, and he bombed like a shaky head. He didn't cross my line or nothing. Like he was being super respectful, but
Yeah.
like bombed his like shaky head up off the side of the boat and was dragging it. Sets the hook, catches like a 3 pounder, and I was like, "Dang, dude, like that's a good one."
Yeah.
Throws back in there, catches like a 4 something. I was like, "Oh
No
my
way.
gosh, dude, you're jacking them." But yeah, he caught 2 behind me at the last stop, and then he went the next day and tore him up with another dude up shallow. But day 2 I only had 4 for like 10 pounds, but I pulled off a bunch in the morning doing Lord knows what with my Demiki rig, and then I caught like a 4 pound largemouth floating out in the middle that got me up to 10 pounds. So it was a decent tournament, nothing to write home about, but for the level of experience I had out there, I was fairly satisfied with it. And I definitely learned a lot if I was ever going to go back to a
Yeah.
fishery like that. So
Yeah.
it was
Heck
cool.
yeah. Yeah, sounds like a fun one. So, okay, we gotta talk more about this co-angler. So what did he have on day one? Like
He
weight
had
wise?
2 he had 2 fish for I think it was right at 7 pounds or, like, right under 7
Oh, so
pounds.
he only had two the first day.
Yeah, and that it's a 3 fish limit for co-anglers,
Oh,
not
is
a
it
5.
really?
Yeah, it's only a 3 fish limit, so, like, he still had a
Gotcha.
good bag
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he had 2 good ones.
He was
Then
beating a
he
lot of people with a three fish limit.
Oh, yeah, dude. And he went out day 2, I talked to him briefly while he was sitting on stage, and he went with a guy that went shallow, and he was just dragging a shaky head behind him and caught, like, 3 4 pounders. Like, I saw a
No
picture of
way.
him up on stage just, like, holding giants on day 2. I was like, "Oh my lord."
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
really
he
cool.
put the hurting on him. It was,
Yeah.
Robert Jacuzzi. His family started jacuzzis.
No way.
I know. He got in the boat and I was like, "Dude, that's crazy. Your last name is literally Jacuzzi." And
Yeah.
he was like, "Yeah, my granddad started it. He invented the jacuzzi."
But and they named it after his last name.
Yeah, it was wild, dude.
Dude, that's nuts. and the
I
the
know.
dude's fishing as a co-angler for the opens.
Yeah, he actually lived. He just hopped in that one because he lived on the lake, so
Oh, gotcha.
he knew what was up when it came to
That's
Lake
yeah.
Ouachita.
That dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was hilarious. But no, he was a great dude. That's one dude that I'd fish with anytime as far as random co-anglers. Like that guy was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Have you ever had like a bad co-angler? Just like somebody you just kind of ruined your day?
Not in the opens yet. I'll say that so far in the opens, both guys I've had have been awesome. Like no complaints. But
Yeah.
and the nation. The guys I had in the nation were cool as hell too. But I've had some in BFLs that I've fished are a little can be a little
If you
touch and go times. Yeah.
yeah.
I had one on Lake Martin that it was like first 5 minutes of the day, dude. Not to mention he smoked like a full carton of cigarettes out of the back of my
Oh,
boat.
oh
But
man.
not that I cared, but like he just was just burning it up all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
First stop, dude, I've made like 5 casts paralleling down the bank, and I caught like a 4 pounder, and he was like, "Man, I can't even cast back here. Like, are we gonna do this all day? Like, this sucks." And I was like,
No
"Bro,
way.
give me a minute." Like,
Yeah. Not even give me a shot.
yeah, just give me like you gonna get your chance, man. Just give me a second. But no, overall, they've all been cool.
Yeah.
Have you done any? Have you done any like the random co-angler deals yet?
No, no. I guess the closest thing to that was the Jacob Wheeler tournament we fished. Um,
Yeah,
and we got one of the 7 MLF boat captains, but other than that, not no, I haven't even jumped in any BFLs or anything yet. But mostly because they always interfere with our high school tournaments,
yeah,
and the ones that don't interfere are always at like in Michigan or St. Clair or something. So a little far drive for a BFL, but
understandable.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean,
It's a weird deal, but it's fun, dude. Like
yeah,
I fished in BFLs earlier. I guess it was the year before last, and I drew the same. I fished one at Eufaula, and I drew a guy that was awesome. Like I'd fish with that dude any day of the week. Super cool. Then I went and I qualified for the regional at that Eufaula tournament. Got to the regional, and I drew the same exact co-angler that I
really,
had at Eufaula. So I got to fish with him again, and like I still text him all the time. Like
yeah,
really cool dude. So like
that's awesome.
it's honestly a good deal. There's a lot of dudes that hate on the co-anglers. Um, not that I don't enjoy fishing by myself as opposed to having one, but it can be a good deal if you have one that like keeps you mentally in it and is like positive.
Yeah,
I feel like it's benefited me sometimes just having another dude back there to like cut up with while you're fishing.
yeah,
So like,
yeah, for sure.
I don't mind it.
So, I mean, so for the most part, they're all pretty cool.
Yeah, they're all cool dudes for the most part. I mean, like I said, I've only fished 2 opens so far, but both the dudes I've had have been cool and like overall through the BFLs, nations, and opens, like the ratio of good to bad co-anglers is very high on the good side.
I
So
got you. Well,
they're
that's
all
good.
pretty cool.
That's good. Um, how did you get a job with Wired to Fish, and how do you decide what to write about?
Yeah. So
Well,
as far as
so
how I got the job, man,
yeah,
mostly just I'd say mostly just college fishing. Because I mean, I did the college deal for 4 years. First year, I didn't really have a boat. I just kind of co-angled around a little bit. Wasn't super into it, and then I saved up, got like a little Ranger, and started getting really into it. And while I was in college, I majored in pre-law, so that was my major all through college was pre-law. So I
really,
did yeah a ton of writing. Like I pretty much had no tests that weren't like written essays. So I had a lot of experience doing writing all through college, and obviously a lot of experience just bass fishing. And I got out and I saw they had a job opening, and I read the job description, and I was like, man, this is the job for me. Like I also grew up reading Wired to Fish. Like a lot of the stuff that I learned growing up, especially not doing the high school scene and just kind of fishing by myself, like I do a lot of online research. So I
yeah,
saw that and
absolutely,
just like I knew that I had to get that job. So I applied and immediately started hitting them up like, hey, did you get my resume? Did you get my resume? Like
yeah,
I'd love to get on like a phone call with y'all. And I did a online interview with them, and then I went and talked with them at the classic and talked with Jason Sealock, Todd Hamill, all the guys that run it. And dude, they're all great people. Like I love those guys to death. They've given me so much opportunity this year, and it's really just been a fun job, like overall, and really just to have like the opportunity to give back as far as like to a website that I used when I was trying to learn more about fishing. Like
Yeah.
it's been really cool. And as far as like as far as how I decide what I write about, it's it's mainly just up to me, kind of. I mean, they have a couple things that like they like for me to touch on, just like occasionally. But for the most part, I usually just write about kind of what I've been doing over the last couple weeks, just with how much I've been fishing. So like I'd go to Florida, I'd write an article relating to Florida. I'd get home, I'd go brush pile fishing. I'd write about brush pile fishing, write about the baits I'm
Yeah.
using. So
Yeah.
it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy for the most part just to like generate topics with how much I've been on the lake. So
Right. That's
it
awesome,
fits
dude.
in pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. So like how much of your time goes to like how long will it take you to write like a full article?
Man, it really depends, honestly. Um, it also depends if you talk about getting the content, because like everything I write is about something I did. So like I'll go on the lake that week with a goal of I'll wake up and be like, okay, I want to write about river fishing this week and like flipping up the river. So I'll go out for a day or two, I'll practice that technique, test out a couple different baits, and then I'll come home and over the course of the next couple of days, I usually don't sit down and write it all in one sitting. I'll kind of like space it out to where I do a little bit of work each day,
I got you.
um, and like slowly build it up. But it varies. A product review, like if I'm reviewing like a lure or something, is a little quicker. But if I do something like a how-to thing, that's
Yeah.
usually a longer article. So
I
it
got
varies. But no, dude, it's awesome.
Yeah, dude, that seems like a really cool job. I
No,
would like
I've seriously enjoyed it.
Yeah, man, I bet. I bet. Um, Another question from my dad. All we've seen here lately is how much controversy there is about co-anglers not fishing now because of forward-facing sonar. I definitely agree because I've seen 100,000 co-angler link posts on Facebook. Uh, Definitely mixed comments from both sides. Have you had any good or bad experiences with co-anglers based on forward-facing sonar affecting them having less of an opportunity?
Man, honestly, like going back to a Ouachita, Robert Jacuzzi, the guy I had, I mean, he said it when we got out there. He was like, "Man, like when you told me what we were doing, I was a little worried about it just because like I didn't think I was gonna be able to catch him." But it kind of I feel like it depends on the mindset you go into it with. Like for him specifically, the what he said to me, it was more of like I have live scope on my boat. He has his own boat. And like he was more like, I kind of want to come out with someone who uses it a lot and kind of see what they do with it and kind of take it as a learning experience as opposed to actually catching fish, even though the dude went on and won the tournament on the co-angler
Yeah,
side. But I don't know. I see how it can really discourage cows from fishing, but I think if you take it as a learning experience, it can still be a productive day on the water for you. And I've also got another funny story that with co-anglers that happened to my buddy Connor Jacobs. On day one of the tournament, he got a co-angler from Japan who actually brought his own live scope with
are you
him.
serious? Like
I'm
his
dead
own
serious.
setup?
Yeah,
No way.
he had the ice fishing pack that had
Yeah,
like a lithium battery in it, a black box, and like a little 10-inch screen. And he had a little mount that he would just drop off the back and like turn it with his hand and
like
sit
a
there
s
and fish all day.
like a sniper pole or
Yeah, it was
whatever
like
they
a
call it?
sniper pole deal that he dropped in the lake. So like,
No
dude,
way.
if you want to figure out how to do it, like you can make it work even
You
with
know,
forward facing.
Scott Martin was fishing in that pocket, and he saw somebody was doing that off the back of their angler's boat, and in the
I
video,
guarantee you it was the same dude. I bet it was the same dude.
he's, like, talking to his co-angler, he's like, "Do you see that, man? Like, he's got his own live scope on the back of the boat." Like, I mean, that's pretty dedicated right there.
Oh,
Um,
dude, if you want to talk about getting an edge over your competition
yeah,
on the
dude.
co-angler side,
Oh, yeah.
bring your own live scope.
Dude, that's
You gonna
awesome.
catch them if you got that.
Yeah. So, like, does it mount to the back of the boat, or does it just, like, sit in the water?
It was like I didn't say I wasn't on the boat with him, so I didn't get to see it the entire day. But I
Yeah.
talked to him before he blasted off, and I was like, "Show me that little like live scope mount you got." And it was like a little tripod deal that like he
Uh,
would just fold out and like set on the thing.
Yeah.
and just it would have like a little arm that went in the water. And Connor said it was on my buddy who had the co-angler. He said he was super quick. Like the dude would have that thing put up, thrown on the floor in like 2 seconds whenever he wanted to
Yeah.
leave. But he did say that scoping, there was like whenever he would pan over to where he was looking, he could like see the disturbance on his live
Oh,
sonar,
like the,
like the pinging, like the
interference.
little like waves.
Yeah. Okay, I can see
Yeah.
where that would be. Yeah, that would be a little annoying, but
He said it was a little annoying, but like he said it wasn't enough to like really mess him up, but like
yeah.
enough to know that there was someone back there scoping.
Right. Yeah, it's like if you leave, like, your back transducer on and you have, like, your
Yeah.
TV off and stuff, uh, but, yeah, that is cool, though.
No, it's
I feel like
cool
you're gonna see a lot of co-anglers doing that,
for
um,
sure.
but,
Especially a lot of the guys that like come from Japan that are like really dedicated, like wanting to learn a
yeah,
lot and like grind
yeah,
all nine. I feel like a lot of those guys are like really getting into it. So
yeah,
like I would
absolutely.
not be surprised if you started to see a lot more of that.
Yeah,
Especially with the way fishing in general is going, how everyone just fishes offshore now, like
no doubt.
definitely helps the cause.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever learned anything? Man, we're talking a lot about co-anglers. Has a co-angler ever taught you anything? Like a sneaky little, like a co-angler finesse bait or something?
God, I mean, honestly, I keep talking about the same dude, but I
Yeah,
mean,
jacuzzi.
day one, yeah, Jacuzzi, day one, he was dragging that pile, and I caught one little spot off of it, and he caught a 4 and like a 3 pounder. So I went back the next day and drug that pile and caught a 2 pounder. So I mean,
Yeah,
I guess you could say I learned that, but I mean, I haven't had, for the most part, no, just because like I've been so like when I get in the boat, like I'm doing what I want to do, like do your
right.
thing off the back, but like I'm kind of zoned in on what's going on. But
Yeah, yeah,
that was the first time that really I saw him jack him behind me, and I was like, okay, like there's some. He didn't just happen to catch 2 big
yeah,
ones. Like there's something
yeah,
behind that.
right. Man, that's cool. Family came up with jacuzzis, winning the co-angler open. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was a unique one.
So, rewinding back a little bit, tell us about how you kinda got started into fishing. I know we talked about it a little bit beforehand, but, kinda tell us, the humble beginnings.
Yeah, dude. So like growing up, I never did the whole high school fishing deal.
And
I
you're
went to like
in living in Alabama when it was definitely there.
well, I actually grew up in Knoxville, so I'm
Oh,
not
did
even
you
from
really?
yeah, I'm not even from
Okay,
Alabama. I didn't know a single person at Auburn when I moved
gotcha.
down there. So I grew up in Knoxville, pretty close to Carson Newman, where you're going, like 45
Okay,
minutes.
I got you, yeah.
Yeah, my parents lived like 5 minutes from Fort Loudon, and
Okay,
I went to like a little private high school, and they didn't have the option to fish high school. Like I tried to go fish for Carnes and like a couple other high schools in the area, but they all said I couldn't unless I was like fully enrolled.
gotcha.
So I really just both my parents are big outdoorsmen. They're huge. My mom's huge into hunting. My dad's huge into hunting. My sister's like a barrel racer. So like they all
Oh,
are big into the outdoors.
yeah,
And so like I grew up going on like a ton of hunting and fishing trips just with my folks, and never anything tournament related. But my dad had just like a little G3 10 rig when I was growing up, and once I turned 16, he was like, "Dude, you can just take it out whenever you want. Like, don't worry about it." So I go out to Fort Loudon all the time with my buddies and mess around. I fished a bunch of like Thursday nighters out there, get my teeth
yep.
kicked in. I think I won like 1 out of 200. So
Oh, yeah,
I, it started off pretty humble, and I mean it still is. But I mainly grew up doing that, and then my dad or my folks had like a little hunting club up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, or it's up in Dunlap. So
okay,
about 30 minutes from Chick, up on the plateau, and there was a little lake up there, and I had a kayak, I had a Jackson kayak growing up, and I'd go out there every weekend and go fish, and like the fishing was stupid up there. Like I'd caught 3 fish over 10 pounds growing up there. I mean, it was just a little private
wow,
lake, but like
yeah.
it had them.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like
No.
I was big into it, just like fun fishing wise. And then started doing like a couple of like the kayak tournaments just around the KBF, like little tiny kayak tournaments around the house,
Yeah,
and did some on Chickamauga, some on Fort Loudon. So I really started off doing that, and then all through like middle school and high school, I was pretty familiar with the Auburn team, just watching them online and like through social media, like Jordan Lee and all those dudes. So like I'd always been watching them and like had a dream to go to Auburn and really fish. And my neighbor, when I was in 8th grade, gave me an Auburn bass fishing hat, like an Auburn bass fishing team hat, just as like a
Yeah.
present. And like ever since I got that hat, I was like, dude, I'm gonna go fish at Auburn. Like
Yeah.
I'm gotta go do that.
Yeah.
So I grew up, went and toured Auburn, saw a bunch of dudes carrying fishing rods around the campus, and I was like, oh dude, this is
This
it. I
place
was
for
like, I'm coming
me.
down here for sure.
Yeah.
And since then, dude, it's just been I met a ton of great guys, like all the dudes I met on the Auburn fishing team, like I owe a lot to those dudes as far as what I know as far as this fishing goes. Like I've got to fish with so many great anglers like Tucker Smith, all those dudes that have gone there. Um, CJ, all my buddies on the team, like they're all great anglers, and I learned a ton from them. So that's really kind of how I got started, and since then I've loved doing it. So
Yeah, man.
I don't
That's
really see a way for me to stop at this point.
yeah. It's a pretty cool start around what do you think about Fort Loudon? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it in
Oh,
between?
it's bad. It's bad,
It's bad.
but it's bad. But I've got a love hate relationship with that place. I love fishing out there. Like it's real fun, and you can do a bunch of different stuff. Like it's still a TVA lake, so you got school fishing, you've got shallow fishing, you got Demiki rigging, we got smallmouth spots, largemouth. Like there's everything up there. So it was super diverse, and it definitely helped just as far as like gaining confidence, doing a bunch of different things, and
Yeah.
fishing on just lakes that suck in general. Like
Yeah.
I'm used to not getting any bites,
Yeah.
so
Tell me
like
tell me about it. I live on Percy Priest.
yeah, dude. So no, it was a fun lake to grow up on, and like I said, I got to meet a bunch of great anglers there too. Like my buddy Robert G, who's sitting in second in the
Yeah.
Elite Series right now. Like I've
Yeah,
got to
dude.
fish with him a bunch of times. I got a bunch of local buddies too, like Corey Brooks. I grew up fishing with him. He's a local East Tennessee hammer who just catches them all over the place over there. So it was a good spot for me to grow up fishing wise. There's a lot of good hammers there that have been nothing but nice to me. So I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. JJ LaRue says he recognizes you from fishing at Fort Loudon, an Auburn wrapped Triton.
Phoenix, Auburn Rod Phoenix, but yeah,
Phoenix.
no,
Come on, JJ, learn your boats, man. He's
there ain't many dudes out there in an Auburn Rod boat. That's for
yeah,
sure.
he's the coach of Alcoa, which is right
Okay,
there in
yeah,
Knoxville. I'm sure you know where
no, I know.
like
Yeah, I
it's
know
like around
exactly what you're talking about.
Maryville and right over in there.
Yeah,
JJ's a hammer. I'm trying to pay him to take me fishing, but he won't let me. He won't let me pay him, and he won't take me either.
he won't show you the juice out there.
No, he won't. He won't. He's a hammer. His son is. JJ's not much of a fisherman. Anyways, uh, so tell us a little bit about college. I know you said you didn't really fish your freshman year, but what was some memorable college tournaments? What would you think would be your favorite that you fished?
God, as far as like a favorite tournament, definitely St. Lawrence River. I guess it was my sophomore, yeah, sophomore year. I think no, junior year. It was junior year. So the national championship at St. Lawrence River. So I bought like going into it. Like I said, did not have a boat. And I worked at a grocery store back home. I did like construction in high school, just like a bunch of like random jobs.
Yeah,
And also sold my kayaks, and I saved up and bought this like crusty old like 1990s Ranger.
yeah.
It was like a 16 footer with like a 125 on it.
Oh man.
And I fished with my buddy Sam Hosley. I fished throughout pretty much the entire college with him.
Yeah.
He's a great dude, and we qualified for the national championship up there. Neither of us ever going up north before. Like didn't have live scope. We didn't know what was going on. Like we just went up there just to go figure it out. And we stumbled just on a pretty good deal while we were up there. We went down to I guess we went into the river instead of going towards the mouth in the tournament. And we fished the first 2 days without seeing a single boat the entire time.
Really?
And it was insane. And like fish every single place we were stopping, we were catching fish. Like it was ridiculous. and we were sitting in, I guess it was 8th going into the final day, and we went out, caught them again on day 3, jumped up to 6th, so right out of the classic bracket spot. But that was
Oh,
my
man.
first time, like, so that stung a little bit, but it was my first time, like, really smashing them, like, in a college tournament, especially in, like, out of the boat we caught them out of, because like, it
Oh,
was rolling, dude.
so y'all were in the 16-foot Ranger.
Oh, yeah, dude, we had to fill up on the way there and on the way back.
No
We were
way.
we were driving, like, 30 miles or however long, like, way into the river, and, like, we had to stop at a marina every day, fill it up on the way there, fill it up on the way back, and we were going, like, 35 miles an hour, like, the whole way there and the whole way back.
Well, I can
And
I can see now why you didn't head out towards the lake. That makes a
oh,
little
yeah.
more sense now.
Yeah, dude, we wouldn't have survived if we had out
Yeah.
if we headed out towards the
No,
lake.
would not have been good. Would not have been
No,
good.
dude. Yeah, we beat that little thing to death, but it was wild. Like, day 1, I think we had, like, 16, 17 pounds, like, nothing crazy. But the furthest stop, like, our furthest away stop, we fished for, like, 2 minutes, and Hosley caught, like, a 6-pound smallmouth, and
Really?
we were like, "Dang, like, this might be a good spot." Like, we made
Yeah.
1 trip in the spot.
Yeah,
We were
have to
like,
get
"Let's
some
go
extra
start."
gas.
Yeah, we were like, "We might go start on that tomorrow," and, like, went out the next day, filled up on the way there, got there, and in, like, 5 minutes, we had, like, 22 pounds,
No
and
way.
we were like, "Dude, this is awesome."
Yeah,
We were
yeah,
we were fired up. We came in, like, 2 hours early because we were freaking out about them. And dude, that was definitely, like, the most memorable tournament I've had in college as far as, like, that was kind of like an aha moment for me, is kinda like what I wanted to do, just, like,
yeah,
going forward out of college. And, like, after
yeah.
that, I've definitely put as much time as physically possible into the whole tournament fishing scene and just learning as much as I can. So,
Heck yeah, dude, that's awesome. And the 16-foot Ranger.
yeah, and after that, my parents were like, "Okay, like, you probably need to sell that thing and invest in a slightly bigger boat." It looked like
Yeah,
y'all were gonna sink coming back in the
yeah.
way.
Oh, man. Did you have, like, an Ultrex or a Ghost or anything, or was it
Starting out, I had a Minn Kota Edge on that
an
thing.
Edge? Okay,
So, like,
okay.
it was we were hurting at first, but
Yeah,
before that tournament, I put a Ghost on it.
okay,
So, I had an adequate trolling motor
okay, yeah.
going into it.
Yeah, if you don't have live scope or anything like that, at least have a good trolling motor. That's
Oh,
like
dude,
step number 2.
with that little 16 footer, I could roll like 6 miles an hour on
Oh,
the trolling
yeah,
motor with
dude,
that
you be
thing.
cooking, be
Yeah.
cooking.
No, it was funny.
Yeah, man,
But no, even
absolutely.
even outside of that, dude, like, another just, like, overall, like, memory is, like, unlike a lot of, like, the other college teams, we didn't have a coach. So,
Yeah,
like, it was totally just student run. Like, we'd elect we'd elect office members to kinda run the team, like a president, vice president, all that kinda stuff. And, like, it was really just totally up to us, like, where we wanted to go fish, when we wanted to do it. And, like, we just kinda all traveled around as friends, like, just got hotel rooms together. And, like, it it was a really fun experience, just, like, getting to bond with the dudes. And, like, we had no, like, set schedule as far as what we needed to do, so it was cool.
yeah, yeah, that is that I can see where that'd be kind of a cool aspect of it's just like a whole travel crew, and you're just kinda on your own.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, dude, there's definitely negatives to it as far as, like, sometimes you want a little bit more organization and, like,
yeah,
people
yeah,
getting, like, decent, like, we stayed in some pretty crappy hotels sometimes,
yeah.
but
Makes for a good story, though. Makes for a good
no,
story.
that's right.
Oh, man. What would you say was your least favorite college tournament? Or least favorite
God.
lake you went to?
Oh, least favorite lake is easy. I'd say Darnell and Winyah Bay are tied for
Okay.
least favorite fishery of all time. Honestly,
What
probably Winyah Bay. That place was brutal.
what is that, where is that? I've heard of it, but
That's
where is it?
it's near, like, Charleston, South Carolina, like, right on the coast. It's,
Okay. Is it tidal?
yeah, it's tidal.
Okay.
We put in, like, we were putting in next to, like, 42-foot Freemans, like,
Oh, really?
right next to the coast. Like, it
I
is
got you.
very tidal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Catching
they were.
fish in between.
Oh, dude, yeah, there's tons of guys catching redfish and stuff.
Oh, are
Like,
you
yeah,
serious?
I'm dead serious. There's more redfish in that
Wow.
place than bass. Like,
No way.
it was weird, dude. that was my first time on a tidal fishery, and it was not a good tidal fishery as far as compared to like James River and stuff like that. So it was a grind, but dude, it was still fun. Like we caught some we caught some good ones and like had a fun tournament, but God, it was testing to say the least.
Yeah. This is my dad, Lanham Farms on Facebook. He said college fishing memes on the gram made that tournament legendary. I remember it now.
Yeah, I know what he's talking about.
That page is hilarious.
Oh, dude, yeah, that stuff cracks me up.
Yeah, I remember all those posts. Was it rough or what was the deal there? Or was it just because it was terrible?
It was number one, it was just terrible. Like the
Yeah,
fishing in general, there were just not that many bass. But a lot of the guys, like it was long runs too. Like a lot of the guys went up like I guess it was the Santee River.
yeah,
Again, we weren't allowed to go up the Coop. Yeah, we weren't allowed to go up the Cooper River, which like when the elite was there, that was like the best river to go up. But it was
really.
like a super far run. So
Yeah,
they limited us to it was North Santee and South Santee, and I can't remember the name of like the other river that was right next to the lake. But it was just long runs and like not that many fish, dude. Like you'd catch 5 mudfish for every bass out
really.
there. Like it was wild, but it still has some good ones. Like there's some guys that caught them decent, like 15 pounds a day, but the weights dropped off quick in that tournament as far as
Yeah.
like going down the leaderboard.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like a couple guys called them and then nobody else did.
Oh yeah, and you knew where the good part of the river was. You'd get there and there'd be 30 dudes doing it, going in circles around the bank.
Yeah,
So like it was funny.
yeah.
You get to do any title stuff yet?
No, never been on a tidal lake. I'm sure we'll get there eventually, but no,
No,
not
you will. Hopefully you go to like the James River or somewhere that's fun.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
not Winyave.
Not when you'll be. Hopefully, yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully we won't have to go back there. Sounds terrible. It sounds terrible.
No,
Um,
yeah. That place was testing.
what are you looking forward to the most on the schedule, like the open schedule?
Honestly, honestly, probably Santee Cooper, the one that's next week. I'm really excited about. I feel like that's going to be a fun one. Um, Even just watching like the MLF guys this week, like there's going to be some giant bags and like any lake that I can go fish that has a ton of giants in it. Like I'm always excited to go.
Oh yeah, there's a
I'm
chance you
pretty,
might catch me.
yeah, that's right. Like I'm. It might be in practice. It might be in the tournament, but like I'm gonna catch a couple big ones while I'm there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'm excited for that, and then Northern Swing too. Like I fished St. Clair before, and like that was a blast. So I'm excited to go up there, and then Leech Lake too. I don't know as much about Leech Lake, but it's super close to the Wired to Fish headquarters too, because they're based out of Grand Rapids. So a lot of those guys fish up there. So I'm pretty excited to get up there and fish again, see some of those
Yeah.
dudes.
Yeah. Heck yeah. So you said Leech Lake?
Yeah, Leech.
Okay. Where is Grand Rapids? I've heard the name, but where?
It's northern Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay.
Yeah,
Is it smallmouth?
yeah, smallmouth and largemouth. It's apparently got like I think it's a lot like Saginaw from what I understand, like really good largemouth fishing as far as like numbers go. But if you get on the smallies, like they're good ones.
Yeah, I got you.
So I think it's a lot like that. But like I said, I've never been, so I could be totally out of left field. But that's
Yeah.
that's kind of what I understand as far as how that lake fishes.
What so going to St. Clair. That sounds like fun. When is it?
July, I think.
July.
I think like June or July, maybe. It's sometime in the summer.
I
I
got
got
you.
it's all running together at this point, but
Yeah.
sometime in the summer months. I think it's if I remember correctly, I think it's like post spawn. Like
Okay.
I think it's a post spawn deal. So I'm sure that'll be a live sonar smackdown up there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That
Yeah.
sounds so weird to say in June or July. Yeah, it's probably post spawn. It's weird to think about the fit because it's like everything's so like delayed there because of the weather.
Yeah, no, you ain't getting down here. We'll be throwing shuttlecocks and 10XDs.
Yep. Yep. Scroungers or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Chris Yoder, thanks for joining us, Mr. Yoder. I'm glad you could make it after watching Reba tonight. I wish you could see the comments, Sam. He said, "How do you navigate a lake with that many good anglers? Local derbies boats will be spread out, but it seems like 225 pros, a lake becomes very small."
Man, honestly, like after fishing 2 of the opens, I can say that in neither tournament I was hindered by the other anglers as far as what I've caught. Um, it's definitely easy to like show up to a spot and you see Dakota Ebear and like Scott Martin and all these dudes you watch on TV that are jacking them every week and be like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to get a bite? But honestly, like they've never really gotten in the way so far, at least so far in my tournament experience. And a lot of it is just like kind of keeping your head down, trusting like what you figured out in practice or what you think's going on, and just kind of doing your deal. Like fishing pressure is really just like an overall condition, and it's something that you just are going to have to deal with no matter what.
Yeah,
No matter what tournament you're fishing, it doesn't matter if it's 250 pros or 250 junior anglers. Like there's going to be boats on the lake,
yeah,
and
it's
just
true.
kind of focusing on you and just like what you want to do. At least for me, has been like kind of my thought process going into it. But it was definitely intimidating, dude. Especially Okeechobee,
Yeah,
like rolling up and there's 100 anglers on your starting hole, and it's just
yep,
like,
yeah. When I had Rob on the podcast, he was talking about like he's a little I think he was talking about his first open. Like he pulls up and he's fishing by, man, who was it? I need to go back and watch it because it was funny. But he was fishing by like two of the best bedfish. I think it was John Cox and somebody else. He was like, "Man, I'm
yeah.
not gonna catch crap right here." Like he pulls up, and he's just fishing by a bunch of hammers.
That's
But
how it feels, dude. I mean,
yeah,
there's some sticks fishing those
yeah,
tournaments. So like,
yeah, man, that was
it's a,
so,
it's a different experience. But honestly, like, it felt a lot. Both those tournaments felt a lot like a college tournament, and like, obviously, there's some serious hammers in the college circuit. But as far as like the overall vibe goes, like at the tournaments, it felt pretty similar, at least to me.
yeah. Everybody's kind of same vibe, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
kind of the same vibe, and like everyone's super cool too. It's not
yeah,
like everyone's like standoffish and like, oh, don't
yeah,
talk to me, like I'm blah blah blah. Like they all cut up like everybody's buddies, and like it's real. So like even in just in 2 tournaments, like I've met so many cool dudes just fishing the open so far that like they're all great dudes, and like it becomes not intimidating really quick. Like once you start talking to everybody, but
yeah,
the weights are definitely better. Like those
yeah,
dudes jack them,
yeah, dude.
so
Yeah, it's
they're
it's
good.
it's kind of like you got like middle school and elementary school fishing, and then you get to high school and then college, and it's like it all just gets funneled down to like the best, and it just gets
Oh yeah.
harder and harder. Uh, so I get yeah, definitely intimidating, but it's like the more you think about it, it's like everybody's here to fish. Like we're all the same when you break it all down. Uh,
100%, and one thing I kind of regretted not doing was, like, in my college like, fishing college, I wish I did, like, a division. Just fish, like, a southern division of the opens or just, like, hopped in a couple just to kinda get, like, my feet wet as far as, like,
yeah,
seeing what a tournament like that's like. Because especially starting off at Okeechobee where, like, everyone's fishing on top of each other,
yeah,
that was, like, an intimidating first tournament
yeah,
to fish
yeah,
my
for
first
sure.
open in.
Yeah,
So, like, I would if there's college guys or whatever that are thinking about doing it, I would definitely recommend not that you have to, but I would definitely recommend if you're able to hop in a couple just during college, like, find some time and, like, maybe hop in the Southerns or whatever region you're close to,
yeah.
because I could see that being pretty beneficial.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So why did you pick to do the Bassmaster Opens over the Toyota Series?
I mean, honestly, mainly my college experience, like, I just put Bassmaster on such a pedestal as far as, like, tournaments that I wanted to do well at and, like, just what I deemed as an important tournament,
Yeah,
and then they have the
Bassmaster just
Bassmaster
has
Classic.
that they just have that, like, like that vibe, like, I mean, it's Bassmaster, like, how could you
Yeah, it's
not want
Bassmaster, like
Yeah,
and nothing to take away from MLF either, like, I had an
right,
absolute blast fishing all the college MLFs, and, like, I wouldn't say that I won't fish Toyota Series in the future, but going into it, I just loved fishing, like, the college Bassmaster Series, and I knew that that was something that I really wanted to put my time and effort into going forward, so I just decided to kinda go all in with that and see where that goes, so that was kinda my thought process, but like I said, it's really whatever suits you. Like there's dudes like Hayden Marbut that on the Auburn team who are coming out and wins his first one he goes into, and like he's
Yeah,
going to dominate. And like, so it's all about what series kind of like fits for you. So there's
right.
really no right answer as far as that goes. I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That was a impressive tournament down there at Gunnersville. That was
Heck yeah, dude.
that was fun to keep up with. Uh,
Yeah, that Hayden's a stick too. That ain't gonna be the last one you see him. You see him dominate that.
yeah,
That guy can catch him like nobody's business.
yeah,
So
absolutely. And Tucker doing really good down there at Okeechobee. That was
yeah,
also
dude.
impressive.
That's one dude that you can't count that dude out at any tournament you fish. If he's there fishing, like you better expect him to catch him. Like
Heck yeah,
that dude's he's good. I've fished against him for long enough to know that he's gonna catch a couple good ones no matter what lake he's on.
oh yeah, oh yeah. What would you say like fishing in college and even the first couple opens? What would be like the biggest challenge? Like whether it's like a mental challenge or like having to overcome like thought like mentally, or what would you say would be like kind of the hardest part of it all so far?
I think for me, like probably the biggest challenge so far coming out of college is not necessarily not necessarily staying like mentally in it during the tournament, but staying like mentally in it during practice. Cause like it feels you show up and you feel like you have 4.5 days. It feels like you have an eternity to go figure out what the fish are doing. But like those days go so quick, and like it's easy when you're out there by yourself to just kind of start screwing off and like aimlessly fishing around. And like you just really, if you want to do consistently well in these tournaments, kind of what I understand is like you really gotta you really gotta do everything with a purpose the entire time you're there. You can't just be messing around. Like you gotta constantly be checking new stuff, constantly be using your head. And I mean, I came from college where I've got a buddy in the boat with me who can keep me mentally in it and a lot shorter practice period. So I mean, you're ripping dark to darks every day. It's easy to get tired and get lazy
Yeah,
and
yeah, for sure.
not really be as focused. So that's probably my biggest change, I think. But I've noticed it, and it's definitely something I'm going to work on going on into future tournaments. But that's probably what I've noticed is like the hardest change for
Yeah,
me.
yeah, absolutely. Um, Another question from Chris Yoder: if they ever take away forward-facing sonar in major tourneys, will the weights go back down, or will the current stick stay at the top?
Current sticks will still stay at the top for sure, but I mean the weights will drop for sure. But you're going to see the same guys jacking them on forward facing that are going to be jacking them doing something else. I think with forward facing sonar now, you just can't afford to ever bomb. Like you got to always have 12 pounds.
Yeah,
Like that's just kind of like the standard now. Like the 12 pounds is the new 5 pounds. Like you just
right.
always got to have 12.
Yeah,
And like you take away that kind of technology, there's going to be people that don't have 12 pounds every tournament, but you're still going to see Jacob Wheeler catching 20 pounds all the time. And like you're still going to see all these hammers that are still catching them. Like
yeah,
I think the standings would stay the same, just the weights would drop, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah. I think I
But
would. I think I
I
agree.
also don't see forward facing going away anytime soon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Me neither, honestly. Um, Another question: when in practice, or like at what point do you just scratch your plan and nothing's working, and you just try a new approach, just a complete 180? Like how long do you go before just making a big change?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of volatile, honestly. Like if I show up and something's going great, like I show up and I hit a couple brush piles or whatever on secondary points or whatever like the pattern is, like I pull up, scan something that's productive, like I'll run that pattern for a while and try and find as much area to fish as possible that like I can bounce around in. But that's kind of like my approach. Like I'll try new things until I find something that works. Then I'll go find as much of that area as I can or as much stuff that sets up similar to that as I can. And then once I feel like I've found an adequate amount of stuff for me to fish, if that pattern's working, I'll start like transitioning into the like secondary patterns or like trying to find something else that I think would work in the tournament. So it kind of changes. There's not like a set amount of time necessarily, just kind of whenever I get the feeling that like,
Yeah.
all right,
That
this
gut feeling.
I've hit 12 points. I ain't caught a fish. Like we
Yeah.
got to go do something else.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I guess time management would be, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but time management, even in practice, would be such a big part of that. Just using your time wisely and making those decisions to that'll pay off in the tournament.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've noticed too. I feel like a lot of the guys that win tournaments, like not that they won practice as far as fish catching, but like they won practice as far as being very productive. Like those guys put in the time, start doing the right thing, and like figuring out the right technique. Because like you can go out there and be productive all practice, like really grind in a pattern that you think is going to work, but like if it don't work in the tournament, it wasn't productive. Like you wasted your practice.
Right.
So like I feel like it's really just like going in with the right idea as far as and just like listening to cues, like adjusting too. If you think you have the right idea, it's not working, like transitioning, but definitely like winning practice as far as knowing what to do and like using your time wisely is definitely something that I found to be very important.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Do you have any tips on like how and this is for me too, making those adjustments like in mid tournament, like uh, like dropping something, you're not catching them, changing, like just making the right adjustments, like in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, I mean that's something I can get better at too. I am by all means not perfect when it comes to that. I'm bad about getting set in my ways when it comes to something I think is working, but I mean there's definitely times it's it depends on how you fish. Like if I look back to like the James River and college tournament at the James River, me and my partner got third in that one. Um, we on day one and day two, we caught him real good throwing him back. Or day one, we caught him real good throwing it. I can't remember if it was a 2 or 3 day tournament, but whatever it was, we had like 22 pounds on day one, 23 pounds throwing a mag draft, and like we were set on it. Like we're gonna go win this tournament on a mag draft.
Yeah.
Went out the next day. We're sitting in second place. First 10 minutes, we catch a 5 and a 4 on a mag draft, and we're like, all right, like it's going down. Like we're
Oh
we're
yeah.
gonna we're gonna drop 25 pounds. We camera boat shows up 5 minutes later. We fish for 4 more hours, whatever, throwing a mag draft. Don't get another bite, and like
Wow.
we've been doing it all day, like grinding it, and like we've got 2 hours to weigh in. Camera boats leaving. They're like, these guys aren't gonna catch them. They're idling off, and we're like, dude, we got to do something different. And like we knew that like the fish were in that area, so like we didn't want to go run around like willy nilly running a bunch of random stuff. And we just transitioned. I started throwing a crankbait, and Jose or we were both started throwing a DT6 in like the areas we were throwing a mag draft. First cast of the DT6, Jose catches a 3 pounder, and we were like, okay, like they're still here. Like we can still catch
Yeah.
some. Go to a next spot, catch another 3 pounder. Go to a next spot. I jump off like a 4 pounder. Keep going, fill out a limit really quick, and like needless to say, we come in third. But like if we'd made that adjustment sooner, definitely would have had a much better tournament.
Gotcha.
And it's something that like I got to work on too, is just knowing when to make that change. I'm bad about pushing it way too long on something that's not working, and like kind of waiting to the last minute and being like, oh gosh, like it ain't
Yeah.
looking good. We got to do
Yeah.
something.
So would you say it's definitely better to make it an adjustment sooner rather than later?
Yeah, definitely sooner rather than later. And another thing for me I've noticed with that is like making adjustment doesn't mean running all over the lake. Like
Might just be
the
a bait change.
tournaments, yeah, it might just be a bait change. It might even be just like the rate of speed that you're fishing at. Like you might just need to slow down and stuff like that. So like the tournaments that I've had where like I've made a change and it's gone well for me has definitely been ones where like it's been a minor change. I haven't been like, oh, we need to go hit a whole new area of the lake. Like stay where you know there's fish and like slow down and like try and think critically about like how to get them to bite as opposed to like spinning your wheels and just running all over the place because like you ain't
Yeah.
gonna get bit while you're running to the next spot.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah. For
that's
sure.
that's something I've learned and I'm definitely still trying to work on because I'm by all means not an expert at that.
Yeah. Yep. Another question from my dad. Coming out of college to the opens, has the financial burden changed the way you feel about fishing tournaments? Like, are they still fun, or does it feel more like a job, or somewhat like a job?
I mean, they're still just as much fun, if not more fun, for sure. There's definitely a much higher level of stress going in when you're making your own money and you're paying for it and you're putting your own money up for tournament entries. Um, there's a lot more pressure for you to catch them, but like at my core, I just like to fish. Like no matter it doesn't matter if I'm fishing tournaments or if I'm just fishing in my local lake. Like I just like to go fishing. So like it always is fun for me. Like I don't think it'll ever feel like a job, but the financial burden definitely changes once you get out of college. It's a much different vibe, especially once you get a job. So it's a little different, but it's still just as much fun.
It's
I
good
think it just
stuff.
mainly comes down to like if you like to fish, like it's you're gonna like to fish tournaments regardless.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Um, well, man, I won't keep you on too much longer. We've been talking for a while, but if you had one piece of advice that you could give anybody, they don't have to fish. Uh, they they could anybody in the world. Doesn't have to be fishing advice. It could be financial advice. It could be any kind of advice. What would it be? You could think about it.
God, that's
Just
a loaded question.
just
Um,
one piece of some Sam Hanggi wisdom.
geez, I mean, it probably sounds a little corny, honestly, but like I would just not do what you want to do. At least coming out of college, like don't when you're going and deciding what you want to do, because like it was stressful for me coming out of college, figuring out if I was gonna like what I was gonna do for work, what I was gonna do for tournament wise. Like, don't listen to like what people tell you that you need to go do. Like, you can do whatever you want to set your mind to as far as work, fun, like whatever you want to go put your time in and put your work into, like it's gonna work out. So that's my mindset and like just focus on what you're passionate about. Really, if you got something you like to do, put as much time and energy as you physically can into doing that and you're going to be much better off because of it. If you like what you do and you put a lot of time into it, it's going to work out for you. Is the way I look at it. So that would probably that was a quick answer, but that would probably be my biggest piece of
I mean, it's
advice.
good answer though. Good answer though. Definitely some good stuff. Um, uh, good advice from my dad again. Well,
Thank
man,
you.
thanks for coming on the podcast. It's been a fun one. Thank you all for dropping some comments. Mainly Chris Yoder. That dude's always killing it. I think he's my biggest fan. If you from around here, everybody knows Chris Yoder. I mean, he's just a local legend. But thank you everybody else for coming on and joining us tonight and dropping some comments. Thank you, Sonny, for coming on. It's been fun. We'll have to
Yeah,
do it
dude, I
again.
had a great time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we hope you guys have a good night, and we'll see you next week for another great episode. Hope you all have a great weekend, and we will see you later.